Hey guys, welcome to the second episode of the series called Rebuilding Your Team. And in this episode we're looking at an NFL team, specifically the New York Giants. New York has the Yankees as the most successful franchise ever, the Mets with a new owner spending like there's no tomorrow, the Knicks being a playoff contender, the Nets with the best big three we've seen in a while, the Islanders going to back-to-back Eastern Conference Finals, and the Rangers leading their division. Even NYCFC won a title, but the NFL has not been great in New York for a while. They do have two teams, but at least the Jets have their head coach and QB figured out. And they do have some cap space in the first year. That's why we're focusing on the New York Giants. As the NFL depends on a lot of the draft, we're only doing 2 years instead of 3 as we did with Barcelona, because we can't evaluate prospects that are barely freshmen or even in high school. As always, all contracts are from SpotTrack, and stats and ratings are from Football Reference or Pro Football Focus. To start this season, we are going to set 5 goals. First, we're going to start with hiring the GM. I know in these videos I pretend to be the GM, but after Deb Gettleman retired and he left a mess, they do need one, and this should be priority 1. Just a reminder, I am recording this video Thursday, January the 20th, and it's expected the Giants hire somebody by Monday, so probably I am late and I may be right or wrong on who they go with. The second priority will be hire head coach. Joe Judge is finally gone, and all after they said that he was not moving. This coaching class is really good, so there is a lot of options out here. Now, the third option will be fire Jason Garrett. Let's face it, this offense sucks. And it is not only because of a bad quarterback. Garrett has to go. We need a new play caller that can design an offense with a new quarterback that we will be looking at. This offense has a lot of weapons and can have a good quarterback or a good play caller to find a way out of struggles. The fourth one is go under the cap. As I mentioned in the intro, this team is in salary cap hell. So we cannot make a lot of moves with no money. So the first thing the new GM and head coach gotta do is get money to get people and start fresh. And finally, we need to improve offensive line, quarterback, linebacker, and safety. This will be tough with no money, but that's why we have 2 years. There is no rush to get out all of this right now. First, the O-line is one of the worst in the NFL, as only right tackle Andrew Thomas is above average. And the worst part is we're paying all of our linemen a lot. Then quarterback, let's face it, Daniel Jones is not that guy. He's too liberal with the ball, has 2 turnovers, and he has more picks or fumbles than touchdown passes. Linebacker. Yes, I know they have Blake Martinez, but everyone else in that linebacker core is bad. As simple as that. There's no way to help Blake with the guys we have. And he's not getting any younger. So he needs some help in the middle. Safety. To start, they don't have a registered security safety at all. According to Pro Football Focus, they use cornerback Logan Ryan there more than anyone. He's a good player as a corner, but he's not a safety, so we have to get someone there. Well, as I said, the first order of business is the GM hire. It is rumored that there are 3 finalists, and by looking at these options, I would say the best option is Buffalo Bills assistant GM Joe Schoen. He has helped build a powerful house in Buffalo. He has developed a lot of players and he's aggressive. He knows how to trade and draft well. He knows how to deal also with a tough fan base, so New York is made for him. They were bottom feeders in 2017 when he arrived, and now they look like a real Super Bowl contender. So for me, he's clearly the best pick out of the 3. As I stated before, the second order of business will be the head coach. After finally deciding the right thing to fire Judge, the Giants are not the best landing spot for a head coach. This year there are a lot of openings, and maybe the Giants aren't the best one that free agents will be looking at. But as these videos are best case scenario, we're taking former Miami Dolphins head coach Brian Flores. I think I can talk by, and everyone will agree, that we were all surprised that they let him go. He was clearly one of the best head coaches around. His strength is clearly the defense. He made them a turnover machine. So we will bring a great defensive-minded coach to improve it a little bit more, as we do have a decent defense. And we will bring an offensive coordinator to be the play caller. So we don't need an offensive head coach. Brian Flores will be by far the best coach in the division, and that will always be a plus to help our rebuild. Maybe he wants a challenge and the bright lights, so he can decide to be a Giant. Then we're deciding on offensive coordinator, and as I said at the beginning, Garrett must go. He only claps. He's a bad play caller and led one of the worst offenses this year, ranking dead last in expected points contributed by offense, 31st in yards per play, having the most turnovers. They were 30th in passing touchdowns and second to last in points scored per game. So yeah, that's not gonna make it. That's why we're bringing on Chiefs quarterback coach Mike Kafka. It is told around the league that he's looking for an offensive coordinator job, and if Vienna mistakes, he will likely have to move on. He helped Mahomes develop a lot since he was drafted, and he has learned from one of the best offensive minds there ever was, in Andy Reid. So he knows how to develop a young quarterback and can call plays. Maybe he won't be a top of the class offensive coordinator or have a lot of experience, but we do have time. Now the free agency period. After figuring out our head coach and GM, we need to focus on going under the cap. That way we can help improve the team and make some moves. That's why to start off, we're making one trade. We're taking a look at Saints' young guard, Cesar Ruiz. The Saints have one of the most depleted wide receiver cores in the entire league. So we're sending them our second wide receiver in Sterling Shepard, as we will let some salary go and let last year's first rounder Kadarius Toney develop. We're sending them also a fifth this year and a next year third rounder, exchange of who I mentioned, Cesar Ruiz, and third rounder. Ruiz can play as a guard of either side and even was a backup center last year. Ruiz is rated higher than our starting right guard Will Hernandez. The main thing about Ruiz is that he's not penalized as much. In the 2 years he's been in the league, he has only 2 penalties, one holding and one false start. He only allowed 5 sacks last year after playing 100% of the snaps. The Saints used him as a starter because they had a lot of injuries in the offensive line, but that spot is for Andrew Speed and Eric McCoy, so he's not expected to be a starter next year. And as I said, Sterling Shepard, Mike Thomas and Kamara can split the load and make that offense a little bit better, so it works for both teams. After that, we're making a second trade. We're letting Daniel Jones go. Enough is enough, he's not good. So we're editing whatever we can before he hits free agency. And as I expect Ross to be out of Seattle, maybe Seattle wants Jones to fight for that starting spot and we can sell it for cheap. We're sending him for a late round pick, like a 5th rounder, so we can change direction, save some salary, and they can help. The Giants built one of the most expensive wide receiver cores and have Saquon as a running back, and he still had a 41.5 quarterback rating, and even more turnovers than passing touchdowns. Doing these trades also saves us $8 million. That will help against the cap. Speaking of playmakers this team had, we're looking at tight end Evan Ingram, and we're going to re-sign him. Evan Ingram is looking at the open market, and we need to keep him. There's no way around it. There are none tight ends as physically gifted as he is. This year he had a career low in target numbers and still was somehow decent. He had 183 yards after catch. That tells you how he can produce even with a bad QB. Judging by this, I think we can get him cheaper than if he was a free agent last year, because his numbers dipped a little. I expect a contract of $6.75 million for 4 years. All we need for him is consistency. And as we keep him, we are going to let another tight end go, as we cut better and Kyle Rudolph. He's not the same as he was in Minnesota, and by letting him go, we save $5 million against the cap. And then the final move we're doing before the draft is we're restructuring Graham Gano's deal. We're getting used to veteran players that are owed much to restructure deals to stay safe, and we're doing that with the 35-year-old kicker Graham Gano. For those who don't know, restructuring a contract makes you pay the same money but later or in bonuses, so that you don't have a cap hit as strong as you were going to. Players like this because you have a little insurance in case you're cut or traded. So I would guess a 35-year-old kicker declining would like insurance money. If he starts to fail as much, he can get paid the same, so he would like it. And by doing this, we save around $2.5 million and finally get us over the cap, even with the draft capital hit that we're getting by having 2 first-rounders. Now we finally reached the draft, and thanks to the Fields trade last year and the Bears being the Bears, we have 2 picks in the top 10, specifically the top 7. Remember, this is not a mock draft. I'm doing the best case scenario for the team. That's why in the 2022 draft, with the 5th pick, I have the Giants taking offensive lineman Evan Neal out of Alabama. He's by far the best offensive lineman in this draft. He can play as guard or his primary position, tackle. I expect Hutchinson and T.D. Doaks to go 1 and 2. I don't know the order, but they are the two. And with the 3rd pick, the Texans are expected to go D on this draft. So they could go either Stingley or Hamilton. And because they are so bad in the defensive. Then we have our neighbors, the Jets, who need everything and may go to the best player available. So either one the Texans don't pick. Also, they may go offensive line, but there are 3 options. So let's hope they don't take Neal, because that's our guy. Then the 6th pick belongs to the Panthers. And there's rumors they may go O-line again or even quarterback. But it is said that inside the organization that they rather go Corral. So that opens everything up for our 7th pick, as we're going quarterback 2 in Pittsburgh, quarterback Kenny Pika. I think he has a higher ceiling than Corral, and it is just a better prospect overall. I know this QB draft class is way weaker than last year, but Pickett has a great potential, good arm, can move and escape the pocket. He's a little bit of a risk taker, but that can change with time, and pairing him with Mike Kafka will help. And also by taking him, we secured that Washington, that is a direct rival in the rebuild, will not get him in the 11th pick, because they should also go to quarterback. And our final draft pick, because I am not going to go over the 7 rounds, we were going to pick at the Big Ten linebacker in Wisconsin's own, Leo Chenal. He should be an early 2nd day pick, so we're taking it there in the 36th overall. We need someone to help Martinez inside the numbers, and he could be our 2nd linebacker instead of Crowder, because Crowder was ranked dead last by PFF, or Pro Football Focus, in all NFL linebackers, and Chenal had a total of 18.5 tackles for loss and led the Big Ten, and he was top 5 in every major tackling category, so he's really solid and should be a no-brainer. And to summarize this year, I don't think this team is way near the playoffs. I think this team has a 6-11 or 7-10 record. I think the team is moving in the right direction, but still has a lot to be made for even remotely thinking about the playoffs. The good thing is that we have a lot of salary cap next year, so we can make that push. To reach the playoffs, you need to have an edge over your division, and right now I think we have the best coach. And that's it, because Dak is the best quarterback in the division, maybe Pickett can be 2 or 3. Then we also have the 2nd best wide receiver core, again Dallas wins that. We have the best running back core with Booker and Saquon, and we need to focus on the O-line, because we need to improve it and maybe retool a little bit the defense before we think about contending. As I said, we didn't make the playoffs last year. So this offseason we have another 5 goals. The first one is to resign Saquon Barkley. I mean, he's the team franchise. Ever since he stepped in the league, he has been the face of our team. Yeah, he gets a little bit injured, well, as a lot, but he's great. And as we're in a great cap space position, we can keep. Then our second priority will be take the club option in Dexter Lawrence and Yannick Garcoy. They are key players to our defense. They are young, athletic, and get the scheme. We're building this culture, so this is a no-brainer. The third priority we have is looking at 2 players that we must resign. First, our starting cornerback James Bradbury, and then our 3rd wide receiver in Darius Slayton. Our 4th priority will be replace Martinez. Don't get me wrong, as I said at the beginning of the video, he's probably our best player. But he's getting up there in age and will get a huge pay raise. So maybe he wants to go to a real contender. That's where we're looking to get younger and even better if we do have the money. The positions we need to improve this year are linebacker, as Martinez is going, offensive line, because it is our weakness by far, and we need to help Saquon and Pickett stay off the injury reserve. Then safety, because we didn't address it last year, so we can get someone in. And edge rusher, because we already have a great linebacking core if we do improve it, and 2 good defensive tackles. So we need edge rushers to put more pressure in the quarterback. As I said, our priority should be to keep Saquon. He's our franchise, we have to keep him. To do that, we're offering him a 4-year deal with an average annual value of $8 million. but we're making it backloaded, paying him only $4 million in the first one, with a $2 million signing bonus. We're doing this to ensure we have the money for later in free agency so that we can improve the O-line and help him be better and not get injured. He said he loves New York, and having him healthy is key for our team to succeed. As I said, we have two club options that must be picked up. First one is Dexter Lawrence. Since being drafted in 2019 out of Clemson, Lawrence has been as consistent as it gets. He's a great run stopper and can disrupt the pass a lot. This past season was by far his best. He had 1 forced fumble, 11 QB hits, 2.5 sacks, and was ranked 32nd out of 125 defensive linemen. We're getting the club option only so it is cheaper, but next year we should plan to resign him in the long term. And the second club option we're picking up is DeAndre Baker. Yes, he's been in trouble with the law and that's why he was cut by the Chiefs. But he's not bad for a rotation spot in our back line. His club option is really cheap, so he's worth it, as you're never too little in DBs on a roster. As I said, a priority should be to re-sign our cornerback James Bradbury. Ever since that trade with Carolina, he has proven to be a true cornerback one. He can lead a team's defense. Yes, his stats were down this year, but he was not 100% and was always covering the opponent's best receivers. If he can come back healthy and we can help him with better players around, he can be a great player back. We're getting him for 3 years and $12 million each. Our final move before heading to the open market is to re-sign Darius Layton. He's a really good wide receiver 3. He's cheap so we can keep him around. He won't be covered as much and he's really solid after the catch. He had 339 yards and only 26 receptions, so yeah, he can run with the ball. He won't be getting many touches behind Tony and Golladay, but we know that whenever we look at him, he will produce. We're paying him $2.5 million for the next 3 years, plus a $500,000 signing bonus. Now, finally, free agency. As I said, we're going to spend big this year. First, we're looking at Devin White. He's our big splash. With all the money we have and letting Martinez go, we're going for this big linebacker to help our front seven. White is probably a top 3 linebacker right now, and he will only get better. White won't lead the league in sacks or anything, but he will tackle everyone in front of him. He also is good dropping in coverage against opposing running backs and tight ends. He had 18 quarterback hits and 10 pass deflections, so he can do anything. He's a true leader for any defense, so we want him in New York. That's why we're paying him $10 million for the next 4 years and a 3.5 signing bonus. Our second signing will be Adrian Amos. We're getting a true safety now. Amos has been king ever since he arrived to Green Bay. After all these years of dominance in Green Bay, they need to decide to keep him or not. And I expect Amos to test the open market, where we're going to pick him up for 3 years and $10 million each, with a 2.5 signing bonus. He had 8 pass deflections last year and 2 interceptions. He also had 75 solo tackles, so we know he can save you back there. He had a 75.9 PFF rating, making him the 6th best rated in the safety position. And while he can't blitz as good from back as he used to, he can prevent the big plays. As I said, this O-line needs help, and as our tackles and guards are young, we're going after Bills better at center in Mitch Moors. He was always slightly above average, but this season he took a big leap in upstate New York. He only had 3 penalties this season, and that with a mobile QB is huge. He has a 63 PFF rating, and this is above average, as I said, but he's not elite. He's tied as the 5th best center in all the NFL. As he will be 31, we're getting him for 2 years and $9 million each. Also with a 1.5 signing bonus. So he can lead our O-line with the kids we have next to him and fulfill their potential. And last but certainly not least, we're signing Yannick and Garcoy. We all know how good this guy is. He led Jacksonville to the AFC Championship with Blake Bortles as quarterback. He has 10 sacks and 2 forced fumbles this season. He has at least 8 sacks every year as a pro. He's disruptive at the line and will help others get the QB if he doesn't when he's double teamed. He has 23 QB hits this year also, so he's really good. Again, we're going to drop in the top 10 because, as I said, we're nowhere near a playoff team. So I expect to be around the 6, 7 or 8 pick. That's why we're taking Alabama edge rusher Will Anderson. He's called Terminator inside the locker room for a good reason. He can murder offensive linemen. He's a projected top 10 pick by far, but as we know, the final year is what matters the most. So unless he goes off and ends up being a top 3 pick, he will be inside our range. Again, this lineup is finally good. We have a great QB prospect in his second year, a great running back, good wide receiving core with Ingram at tight end. Finally, we have a good offensive line with young presence and a veteran center. On the other side of the ball, we have the same defensive tackle duo with great edge rusher in Garcoy, and on the other side we have our rookie Anderson. Our linebacker improved a lot with White and Chenal, making a second year leap. Our cornerback stayed the same as we were able to snatch Bradbury before he hit free agency, and adding Adrian Amos can make McKinney a security safety and create a great duo on the back. This team is starting to feel like a playoff team. Probably won't win the division because the Cowboys have a really good roster, but this team surely can fight for a wildcard spot and sneak in. As I said before, the NFL depends a lot on the draft, so we can't go for a third year. But this year is make or break for Pickett, as he has the offensive line, the weapons, and he can make some noise. Well, there you have it, a 2-year plan to make the Giants competitive again. This is tough, especially with the first year's salary cap, where we have no space to move. As always, let me know what team would you like next. Thanks for watching and see you next time.